Hola everybody. So today we're going to talk about ordinary annuities. What are ordinary annuities? This is the most common term that is not used in the terms of investment, but it is something that everybody has to do. So what is an ordinary annuity? Well, an ordinary annuity is just a series of equal payments made at the end of consecutive periods over a fixed length of time. All right, what does all this means? This means that you're going to be a smart investor, and at the end of every year you're going to put in a certain amount of money, the most that you can, hopefully and ideally, into your retirement account, right? And this money, you are supposed to not touch it. The market must go down, the market must come up, but eventually, you are not supposed to touch this money. That is what is called being a smart investor. Trying to buy low and sell high, that does not work, trust me. So here we have this problem. It says Lil Euclid wants to invest $500 each quarter, not per year, but per quarter. Or it's going to be compounded quarterly at a 2% interest rate per quarter. So let's see, how would the money grow if we just check it at the end of each quarter? Just doing this will give us a basic understanding of how the money will grow over time, which is something that a lot of people seem to not be able to understand. This is how the $500 are being worked over time. So remember, we are investing $500, all right, at the end of each quarter, and we're getting a 2% rate. So let's first remember what is the formula for compounded interest. The formula for compounded interest is the amount at the end of n number of periods is going to be equal to the principal amount times 1 plus r. R is the interest rate to the nth power, and n is the number of compounded period. So let's start with what happens at the end of the quarter one, EQ1. End of quarter one, well, you invest your $500 and boom, you have nothing else but just the $500, right? So let's leave that amount in the bank or in your retirement account. Let it grow, let it earn 2% interest. So let's go back at the end of quarter two and see what's in our account. Well, in our account is going to be this $500 that you just put in, plus the $500 that you put in from quarter one. They had a chance to compound for one period. And at the end of quarter three, well, what amount is in this account? Is the $500 that you just invested plus the $500 that you invested on quarter two. They had one period to be able to compound. And the $500 that you invested at the very beginning of at the end of quarter one, they had two periods to compound. And at the end of quarter four, you put in your 500s. The 500s that you put in on quarter three had one period to compound. The 500 on period two had two periods. And the 500 at the end of period one had three periods to compound. And for a total of $2,060 with 80 cents. Remember how much money you put in total? You only put in 2,000. So over 4 quarters, you got $60.80 free. So let's talk about in the future. Let's assume that we are responsible financially and that we keep putting this amount of money into a retirement account that we're not supposed to touch unless for specific purposes or emergency reasons. If you want to know, well, gee, I wonder when I'm going to be a millionaire. When am I going to have my first $1 million? This is the formula that you want to use. And what is this formula called? This is the future value of an annuity. If we keep putting the money at the end of each year for X amount of years, how much would this grow to be? So let's see here. The future value of an annuity is going to be equal to R. Well, R in this case represents the amount of equal payments of R dollars that you're putting in. If you're putting in at the end of a year $1,000 every year, well, that's your R. All right. So most retirement accounts have a limit of how much money you can put in there, because remember, at the end, this amount of money is going to be growing exponentially big. So that's what they put certain limits of this. So they only allow you to put a certain amount of money. So that's what R is. I is the interest rate per compounding period. And remember, I is equal to R, which is the yearly rate, divided by K. And K is the number of compounding periods per year. So if something is being compounded annually, well, at a 7% rate, well, it's 7% divided by 1. But if it's compounded quarterly, well, it's 7% divided by 4. And if it's compounded monthly, it's 7% divided by 12. But just for the general purposes of investing, we are going to say that our money, it compounds yearly. However, most companies that you buy stocks on, they report their earnings quarterly. So let's continue. What is the N here? Well, the N stands for the number of compounding periods, and as we said, for the purposes of our discussion here, N is usually going to be the number of years that you're calculating, because we're going to assume that our money will continue growing in a compounded way on an average rate per year. So how many periods per year? Only one. So our case is going to be 1 and then minus 1. So this entire formula will give us our value of our annuity. If we are responsible and continue doing this, this is how much money we will have at the end. And we have this problem.